It's not about running an athletic department anymore. It's about how much money can you bring in and where are you bringing it from, and from where can you bring more.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Throwdown Thursday edition, we will slightly dive into political waters. We'll talk about ADs and the new roles and the new expectations. We'll talk about roster limits since the House final decision hopefully is coming this week. And can $40 million buy you a National Football Championship? With me today is our favorite administrator, Robert Abney. Robert, ready to jump into this foolishness?
It sounds like you've got a lot on tap, so let's go.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but media reports have dived into the Trump administration exploring an executive order that could impact NIL and college athletics overall. So how did this come about? President Trump was the commencement speaker at Alabama's commencement, and Nick Saban and Tommy Tuberville had the opportunity to have some conversations with him and kind of tried to lean on the president to see what he can do. And an executive order might not stabilize the college sports system in a way that people think, because, hey, only Congress can pass a law like this, and you also have Title IX issues and so forth and so on. So an executive order might not stabilize this, but legal protections and preempting state law can only be addressed via Congress. So kind of keep that in mind. Robert, when this came across your desk, did you have any thoughts about an executive order fixing college athletics?
No, I mean, there have been so many other executive orders since Trump took office that have been subject to legal challenge, that have been overturned by legal challenge, that when this happened, if this happens, that's what's going to happen. As soon as he signs that executive order, within the next week, somebody else is going to file a legal challenge because they don't like the outcome for them. And that's what I would expect. I think that, again, without getting too much into the politics, I think President Trump is kind of notorious for listening to the last person who got to talk to him. And yeah. I don't feel like this is going to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that piece. For anything to happen, it's got to come through Congress, and yeah, good luck with that, because we're working on it through the Drake Group. All right, times are changing. It used to be said that athletic directors don't get fired and deal with the types of things that coaches do, and that time has changed. So there's a couple of stories out that I kind of want to go through. One, Hawaii. Hawaii's former AD, Craig Angelos, has reapplied for his job. And he said, to paraphrase, I wanted to apply and see if I get my old job back and see what happens. There was some situations in Hawaii that kind of didn't go his way. Stanford, they're looking for an AD. And right now, Andrew Luck is the football general manager, and he's having a say. So San Jose Mercury News writer John Wilner gave some advice to Stanford. One, spend 6 or 8 weeks identifying candidates, soliciting feedback from key constituents, and clarifying Andrew Luck's role. 2, accept the search committee's suggestion with a smile and thank the members for their service. 3, put the school president in a room with Andrew Luck, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, and major donor Jesse Rogers, and let them figure out who's going to get the job, and then offer whatever you want and whatever you can to get that person in, because it's a different job. Finally, Michigan State fired their athletic director. They are looking for an individual who can strengthen relationships with big money donors. College athletics is changing, and Michigan State is kind of being left behind. Robert, it's a lot, and we're both former athletic directors. And what are we doing? Any thoughts on the changing job of athletic director in college sports?
Well, I think at the Division I level, at least for a while, a major part of being a athletic director has been fundraising. I mean, that's been part of the job for a long time. But now you have a couple of additional factors to that. Number one is the amount of money we're talking about because of NIL. But the other is you have more and more schools hiring this football general manager person or, athletic department assistant, athletic director in charge of NIL. And those people, because of the amount of money you're talking about, are having a significant influence on the process. And I mean, it's not about running an athletic department anymore. It's about how much money can you bring in and where are you bringing it from, and from where can you bring more?
That's really what it's coming down to. And that's where we are, man. It's not a fun job, I can tell you that. And from the people that I am talking to, it keeps getting less fun. It keeps getting less fun. All right, is anybody watching? For the second straight year, the Pac-12 will feature just two teams, Oregon State and Washington State. But more on the way next year after another round of expansion. And the league now has a new media rights deal for 2025. The Pac-12 announced that CBS, the CW, and ESPN will be a part of the one-year deal. The CW was the league exclusive partner last year. And now we got new teams coming in the following year, but they still need to add one or two because it didn't include anything about 2026. And here's what's coming to the new and improved Pac-12 following the season. Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Utah State, and San Diego State will join the conference. However, they're looking for partners and they're looking for one more team. What do you think about the Pac-12 finally getting a deal for this year, but nothing for next year? The Pac-2? They're trying to hang on, and I guess I can appreciate that, but all that's going to happen is that, okay, so for this year, no one will pay attention because they're going to have a hard time getting players because they're both the little sisters and the little brothers in their respective states. They're going to have difficulty getting players. They're going to have difficulty getting NIL money. And when those other teams come in, basically what you're doing is you're recreating the Mountain West. And the schools that are getting left behind in the Mountain West, I don't know what they're going to, probably Conference USA would be my guess if they're going to try to stay on that level. I don't know, but it's, what are we doing? I don't, what are we doing? Is anybody good? I mean, we watched a little bit of Washington State last year. I think they teased a little bit. Yeah. They made the top 25. And Boise made the playoff because they won the Mountain West, and they were legit. But I mean, they're not Power 5. They're not going to be Power 5. Not in anything. No. All right. So, fans, when we get back in segment 2, we're going to talk roster limits and see what Robert thinks about potentially the hiccup in the House decision. We'll be right back on the iCoaches Podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student-athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA Safe Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student-athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student-athlete success. I believe every student-athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student athlete succeed. Welcome back to the iCoaches Podcast in segment 2. want to spend a little time talking about roster limits because over the next week or two, we're going to hear about it. So we're trying to get ahead of it. So if approved, the House decision would cause a massive shakeup in college sports. But again, before the full approval, there needs to be something about roster limits because Judge Claudia Wilkin gave the attorneys 14 days to either phase in or grandfather roster limits as a part of the agreement. But we're going to let Judge Wilkin do Judge Wilkin things. That's fine. Robert, should we have roster limits? And the reason why this seems to be a question is because the NCAA over the years used to use the line, you're going to go pro in something, and they would share the stories of the walk-on and the kid who Rudy did and so forth. Will roster limits help or hurt in your opinion?
I've kind of always been of the thought process that we have way too many and roster limit. When we talk about roster limits, who are we talking about? We're talking about football, really. I mean, let's be honest. We're really talking about football. And you don't need 140 guys on your roster. You don't. I'm sorry. You don't. And you have a scholarship limit, and I mean, those probably have gone out the window also, but you don't need 140 guys on your roster. So if you're talking about creating these roster limits in order to create a framework that everybody can live within, to me, that makes sense. Now, because in the end, some of these colleges and universities, if they're like, oh, well, I don't have to pay for 140 guys for football, I'm only paying for 90. I mean, there is some savings there, even though, a lot of those guys are walk-ons and they're not getting your NIL money, but you do have to equip them and all of that kind of stuff. But as far as the other sports, like if you're putting roster limits on Olympic sports, for example, then you're looking, I mean, and NIL is quite possibly going to kill Olympic sports at the NCAA level, at least the Power Four level anyway, just because of the amount of money involved. But it's hard. I mean, nobody knows. I mean, I can say all of this stuff, but in the end, I don't think anybody knows what the end results of it is going to be.
So for me, I'm thinking, hey, we can have roster limits in terms of who is on scholarship. 85 scholarship players, and then whatever else you want to do, you can do. And that's football. And yes, we're talking about football. Same thing with basketball. You can have, similar to the NBA, 12 guys on scholarship, but a maximum of 15 people on your roster. And then because a lot of the guys that I talked to and when we were in San Antonio, they say, hey, Key, we're paying about 6 guys. The rest of the guys kind of, whatever. So that's kind of how we cap manage is, hey, that's starting 8. Yes. And then everybody else, we hope we don't have to go to because we don't want to play them. And, Daddy Warbucks is one of our NIL guys. So we keep his kid on the team and so forth. Joining us as well, Mike King, our favorite team leader. Mike, with the House case hopefully coming to an end, you're a general fan. What do you think about roster limits?
I mean, it's weird because it takes a long time to just learn who's on the team. So they can do whatever they want with the limits, but to me, they're killing the product just with this whole thing. I think basketball, I got to learn an entire new roster for the team I root for. I couldn't name you one player, and I follow it. I look on Twitter, I see the names. Next year, I'm going to have to study. It's becoming work to college athletics. I got to study to learn the team I root for. But as far as how many people are on the team, I don't care. Have as many as you want. I like your idea, 12, but you get money for 15 or scholarships for 15. More scholarships is a good thing. But yeah, it's college athletics is becoming work.
Yeah, and in terms of the Olympic sports, as Robert mentioned, uh, my wife's a track coach, a award-winning track coach, I might add, and track is going to get hit in a way that you're like, we talked a couple of weeks ago about, insert school says, hey, Mike King, I need to see you at the track at 8 o'clock in the morning. Wait a second, coach, we don't practice till 10. Yeah, that's what I kind of want to talk to you about. What are we doing? You get a smart kid who can get into a school academically, gets a small bit of money, and now that might not even be available for kids. And I kind of think that piece is wrong. But football is the almighty, dollar, and everything is chasing football. So this is not good. So the second thing I want to talk about is the transfer portal. A lot of coaches are moving schools, not only in football and basketball, but other schools. And as a coach, I used to stay in contact with guys that I recruited that ended up at other schools, because if things didn't work out, we had a prior relationship. And at Hood College, there's a lot of people that transferred in. We even got a kid transfer in from Purdue. Didn't play basketball, went to Purdue on an engineering scholarship, but was on Big Monday and watching Purdue play Indiana and called me from the game and said, I miss it. I'm coming in. And he, transferred in. We recruited a kid that went to insert school, and I happened to see the kid before the game at the school, and, how's mom? How's this? I'm not happy here. Well, feel free to apply. So we're doing that on the Division III level. And you can imagine what it's like on the on the Division I level. Mike, in your opinion, because you did mention its work, how are you feeling about the portal in terms of what impact it's having on your school that you follow, as well as just kind of nationwide? What are you thinking about it? Because that's another way people are bringing in, and your school is impacted by the new coach bringing in players he had relationships with.
I guess a positive, negative. The positive would be we had a coach for Maryland leave last minute, could have screwed over next year, but now we've got Buzz Williams comes in, recruits completely a whole new team. And most of these preseason polls have us top 25. And when Willard left, it was like, oh, next year is going to be bad. Portal gets rid of that. If you got a school with money, you shouldn't have a bad year. The negative is, again, there's no connection to nothing will be the 2002 national championship team as a Maryland fan because Juan Dixon was there for 4 years and Chris Wilcox was there for 2 years and Lonnie Baxter was there for 4 years, and they grew with the program. There is no more growing with the program. Most good coaches in college will recruit one freshman at most. They're going to still talk to the high school seniors because they want to get them on the back end after insert smaller school here did the work, did the put in the time, got the kid to be better, stronger, bigger, faster, smarter. And I'll take him when they're a junior or senior, and my pitch will be, I'm going to make you money, And I'm not mad at everyone dealing within this system. It's just a bad system. It's I don't think it can last. I don't think most people are going to be most fans, I don't think, are happy with this kind of hired mercenary thing, and the high school recruiting doesn't really matter. It's only about free agency, and free agency is for professional sports. So I don't think this will last forever. I think people will get paid, but I do think they're going to figure out a way to rein it in eventually if the courts let them make up their own minds.
Robert, make it make sense.
I wish. I mean, I think that Mike touched on something that I think is going to be important down the road is that, and I think I talked about this last week or the week before, but you're going to see freshmen are going to go to non-Power 4 schools. They're not going to go to Big East schools. They're going to go to smaller Division I schools, and those schools are in essence going to become farm teams. And those guys, and Mike touched on this, those guys, when they're at the small school and they're going somewhere bigger, where are they going to look? They're going to look at places with coaches with whom they've already had some kind of established relationship. They're going to go to a place where they've talked with the coaches, where they, maybe their coach, we've seen it a bunch of times, a coach gets promoted basically into a Power 4 school. He brings the best players from the school he was at with him. And we know that's going to happen.
Nico Medved.
We may still see some of these, mid-major schools actually be able to build a program if, and have what we call an old team, starting 4 seniors and a junior that have been at the school for a while. We may still see that. But it's going to take a lot of good fortune on that school's part, because none of those guys can be too good until that year. And, it's going to change how we watch the game. It's going to change how we pay attention to the game. I think Jerry Seinfeld said it a long time ago, we're not rooting for a team anymore. We're rooting for laundry.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right. That was good stuff. So in segment 3, fans, we are actually putting a dollar amount on a national football championship. Can $40 million win you a national football championship? We will have that conversation when we get back on the Odd Coaches podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy, designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential, both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. And in segment 3, can $40 million buy you a national football championship? The Texas football roster budget for 2025 currently sits somewhere between $35 and $40 million, according to media sources. That figure counts the likely revenue sharing allotment, expected to be at $20.5 million, as well as payouts through the Texas One Fund. I don't even know what that is, but I am sure they have money. This figure also seems to be one time, because after the house settlement takes place, we don't know how any of this is going to work. And of course, you have Arch Manning, and I believe he may be, quote, by far the highest paid Texas player on the roster, although he reportedly receives no money from the school, with he and his family having all types of deals. Robert, you're our Texas correspondent. Is this enough for the Texas Longhorns to win a national football championship? What say you, sir?
Well, I don't know if it's enough, but we're going to find out. And not only that, I guarantee you that if Texas is going to spend between 35 and 40 million dollars, Texas A&M is not going to be far behind. The difference is that, you know, Texas actually has been in the playoff. Texas has actually won national championships, whereas Texas A&M, as much as Aggie fans will go on about the Aggies, they have not. So we're going to find out. I think aren't they over the NFL cap? I mean,
I don't even know what the NFL cap is, but
NFL caps.
I mean that. I mean, let's be honest. That's an insane amount of money. And again, the NCAA years and years ago, they could have taken care of this, but alas, they did not. And here we are.
Mike, you hear this, and you're a Maryland alum, and I don't think you're going to get 35 or 40 million dollars for your football team. It's going to be my guess. But you see these numbers. What do you think, as Joe DeFan, to quote the late great John Thompson?
This doesn't really change much for Maryland, I don't think, because in the past, Texas was still getting a top 5 recruiting class every single year, and Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. Now those type of schools just spend more money and they get slightly better players because they spend more money or better depth or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the rich are still rich. The middle are still middle. The poor are still poor. Nothing's changed. There's just a dollar amount instead of just looking at the recruiting rankings. That being said, you know, as far as Maryland goes, we got the number 1 player in the 2026 class if he stays. We got a defensive end that's local. So beat out all these Texas and Ohio State and Michigan type of schools. So we got hope. We got a local quarterback from Spalding who's was great in the spring game. We got hope. Hope. When you're a lower program, you need hope. We got hope.
Will we be bowl eligible?
That's what we got to hope for.
One thing that I think is important, you know, one of these sources from UT is talking about, you know, what we're currently doing is unsustainable. But after this year, after this settlement, the whole world will be back to reality. To which I would say, nope. I don't know how you know that. Because I would disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, not good. All right. So how do we feel about this, guys? Quarterback Nico Imelove, Mike, you help me out with the pronunciation. When he went from Tennessee to UCLA, it got a lot of attention, but his younger brother Madden went from Arkansas to UCLA, and like coaches, players now have clauses in their NIL contracts that says they may have to pay back some money, and it looks like the Arkansas Edge is going back after their money. Mike, is this something that they should do, in your opinion?
Well, first, I looked up how to pronounce it. It's Iamaleava, I think. Okay. So, what did the younger brother do?
He left Arkansas. Transfer from Arkansas to UCLA, and they want the money back that they've already given him.
Yeah. I mean, this is simple contract stuff. I'm giving you money to do this. You don't do it. This is a learning opportunity. Again, we're taking schooling out of college with this athletic stuff. Well, now this is our chance to teach it. You have your contracts. I give you money. You gotta do the things that it says to get that money. If you don't, it's a violation of that agreement we made, and there's going to be consequences. So this is a good thing. This is a good thing for players to get a little bit of that financial literacy that we're starting to bring into high school. That's part of the curriculums they're adding back into the schools, which is a needed thing. Now you get in college.
And yes, 0.5 will be taking financial literacy at the Matha next year. I love teachers. Robert, this came across your desk. Should Arkansas go after its money, or what do you think, sir?
Why not? You sign an agreement. You sign an agreement. You either pay it back or you negotiate a settlement, one or the other. I mean, to me that's a no-brainer. And I think it's probably been going on and we just didn't hear about it because players and universities kept that quiet. But I think we're going to see more and more of it,
Okay.
especially because this kid, I mean, he played spring ball. He didn't actually play in a game. If you play a season and then you leave, okay, fine, whatever. But he played in spring ball and then left after taking some of the money. The university has gotten nothing back from that. They've gotten nothing back from that. So makes sense to me.
We're talking contracts. We're talking buyouts. We're not talking class. We got to talk class. We're going to talk class. All right. Finally, and begrudgingly, and that's why it's going to be the last thing we talk about this week. It is a news story, and I got two people with some levity here so we can have a decent conversation about it. UNC football, and yes, we will be at the University of North Carolina in June with Point 5 going to their prospect camp, and friends of the show work in North Carolina. North Carolina football coach Bill Belichick, and that's kind of funny to say, called it a false narrative that his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, was trying to control an interview with CBS News. In a statement released by North Carolina last week, Belichick said the segment presented, quote, selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which simply is not true. Robert, there is a little bit of an age gap between the relationship, 73 and 24. And because North Carolina released a statement, it is now news. It's kind of awkward to have this conversation. But if we're giving advice to Coach Belichick as he enters the world of college football, what would you say to him if you could, sir?
First of all, don't do an interview with your girlfriend. That would be my first advice. Second piece of that is that, all news stories are selectively edited and clipped to present a story. And if you don't want that story to be, if you want to control that story, then you have to present your interview in such a way that whatever you don't want to be presented becomes presented. I mean, you all know very well as a school person that, as a school administrator, I want to control the story of my school. I'm going to tell our story because if I don't tell it, someone else is going to, and I'm not going to like it. And that is a perfect example of what has happened here.
Mike, I could see us, fans who don't know, Mike, when he was in the office, I'd sit at my desk and we would just go back and forth. And I could see you busting in saying, what is this? So now, Mike, what is this? What are your thoughts on this?
They're both getting what they want out of the relationship. Let's just start there. This is not the first 70-year-old dating a 20-year-old. It's not going to be the last 70-year-old dating a 20-year-old. They both know what they're getting. And it's a story because it's Bill Belichick. But again, this is not a news story. I will say this. Forget the coach, for the players. Everyone, the trend is dating influencers. That's what or marrying influencers. That's what most of, it seems like, professional athletes are doing. And I will just end it on Ben Rice, a New York Yankee. He's dating a Harvard engineer in a world of Bill Belichick's. Be it Ben Rice.
I'm going to let it go there because I don't know any of that, and I don't want to mess up anything. So, hey, Bill, one, you're in college. Try to be mindful of, as you have your entire career, boring wins. And right now, you're not being very boring. So I'm going to say, hey, boring wins more than it loses. Two, none of this will matter if you win games, but if you lose games, you're going to have extra problems that you weren't looking for. And I'm looking forward to visiting the University of North Carolina for football prospect camp. And my boy likes North Carolina, so that's a good thing. All right. So on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.